Welcome to the SSanguine podcast, where we're going to be talking about a bunch of different topics, from primarily sports to things going on in the current world situations, and just things that interest us and things that we feel like would interest you guys, and just be fun debate topics, whatnot.
My name is Snay, and I'm here with Suv. And yeah, we're just gonna be talking about a lot of stuff that you guys like, and we're excited to be here in a more formal context.
Uh, the origination of the podcast started when we realized how intricate our conversations become when we start talking about all these things we're passionate about, such as sports and just all these movements that are going on in the world right now. But we're primarily going to try sticking to sports because we don't want to get into the controversial topics. And yeah, I guess we could start with the week 12 of football that was just this past week, that probably the longest week of football in NFL history, I believe, which started Thursday night with the Thanksgiving
Thursday afternoon, actually.
afternoon.
Thanksgiving games, yep.
And then it extended out all the way to Wednesday night/evening, kind of. Yeah.
Tonight. Yeah.
All right, so I guess we could start with the first game, which was the Texans versus the Lions.
Crazy.
What are your thoughts on the Texans game?
Honestly, man, it was a good game until Deshaun Watson opened it up. That's basically the main factor that I saw in this game. Once
See,
Deshaun Watson started playing like Deshaun Watson, it was over for the Lions.
I personally don't think the Lions had a standing chance to begin with, especially since they were shorthanded without DeAndre Swift, Kenny Galladay, and I'm pretty sure Matt Stafford's playing hurt. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, torn ligament in his thumb.
I mean,
Too.
I'm not a doctor, but I feel like that might alter his throwing motion a little bit, right?
To a slight degree, probably. But
I mean, at least
I don't know, man. He's a beast. So,
but I think the bigger story that came out of this situation was the fact that Will Fuller and who was the other guy, Bradley Roby,
yes, sir.
they were taking PEDs.
Man. Will Fuller said that. What did he say? He said that he did not know that the NFL was not letting him take those drugs. How valid do you think that?
I don't know if that's valid, to be honest. How are you going to be at the top of the game, right? I think he's like a top 25 receiver, right?
Oh, for sure.
He's pretty good. But how are you not going to, I guess, communicate this information with the NFL? Like, oh, I'm taking these drugs. Are they valid? Or are they, I guess, okay to use, right?
Exactly. At a certain point, I don't know. Like, you trusted? He said he trusted his doctor and letting him and adhering to the NFL policies. But at a certain point, do you just take it upon yourself, or do you keep trusting that individual?
See, now I personally think that that's cap. We all know. Come on, Will Fuller. You had to have known you were taking these PEDs. You're literally paying this doctor or whoever, right? He's not just gonna drug you out of nowhere. He probably has you on your fantasy team, if for all we care. He's not. He doesn't want you to leave. But it was kind of suspicious that Will Fuller wasn't hurt this season so far.
Considering his past seasons.
See, I'm beginning to think that the only reason he did take him was because he knew he had to step up, right? Because obviously they don't have DeAndre Hopkins, and he's in a situation where he has to be the number one receiver, for the first time, I guess, in his career, probably, right? So I guess that got to him, and Buddy started taking drugs.
I mean, yeah. You gotta do it. You gotta do it, but
I guess you got to do what you got to do.
yeah, he took it honorably. He's serving his 8-game suspension.
I think it's 6 games, I believe.
6. Huh, okay.
I think he won't be back for week 1 of the NFL season for next year.
Yeah, I heard that.
But overall, I think that game was not that significant. They're both losing teams. They don't really have any playoff hopes. But a game with major consequences and big time, I guess, I don't know the word.
Repercussions.
The football team versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Nah, you know what I'm saying? Antonio Gibson on the fantasy team. Holy.
I used to have my fantasy team. I kind of traded him away by accident. But
This was a must win for each of the teams, and the way that the football team was able to come out speaks a lot. It really does.
they demolished the Dallas Cowboys. But I think a bigger story for the Dallas Cowboys is the fact that Ezekiel Elliott is not a top 10 running back this season, which we could discuss on another episode. So tune in for that one. It will be coming out very soon. But we do go in depth as to why we don't believe Zeke is, or at least I don't believe Zeke is a top 10 running back this season. But yeah. How do you feel about Terry McLaurin this season and that football team?
I don't know. He has shown to be a great leader on that team. Definitely carrying a lot of the workload for the wide receivers, as we see with the stats. 7 for 92. Didn't get that touchdown, but it was mostly Gibson that game.
Yeah, I think it was a big game for Gibson, and the fact that Gibson was a receiver coming into and just converting his position to a running back and playing so well just shows the type of work and commitment he puts into the game. And I see him being a bright spot for the team for the future.
Sure, I agree.
How about the Chargers versus the Bills?
The clock management in this game was atrocious. At the end,
Oh yeah,
Jesus, my God.
I think this might be one of Justin Herbert's like off games.
And that says something. 31 completions, 300 yards, and it's an off game. This speaks to how great of a season
He's
he's had.
just a rookie, and that's a crazy part.
But I
But
guess we see the inexperience this game with clock management.
oh,
And
for sure.
you don't clock the ball, you run a play, take a sack. Just, I guess, it's just rookie things. But he'll definitely improve on it.
But on the bright side, they got Austin Eckler back, who got a lot of targets as a receiver. I believe it was 15 targets. He came away with 11 catches for 85 yards, which is pretty significant if you think about it, because that hurts Keenan Allen, like for fantasy owners here. That hurts Keenan Allen significantly. And I was trying to trade for Keenan Allen earlier, but definitely I don't want him anymore. Put my faith in Julio Jones. Hopefully he does something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
Cole Beasley threw that one touchdown.
who did he throw it to?
Push, bro.
He threw it to Gabriel Davis.
Singletary had a game, though.
Yeah, he had a solid game, 7.5 yards a carry, and so did Zach Moss, 6.6 yards a carry. But I was kind of expecting that to be a big rushing game for the Bills, because the Chargers' run defense is not there. Like Joey Bosa is not, he's not the best pass rusher. I mean, sorry, run stopper, but he's a pretty big force in the pass rush.
Right. Which directly relates to Josh Allen's stats. Uh, 157 yards, interception. Not what we see Josh Allen typically pulling up.
I think Joey Bosa disrupted the game pretty well. I believe he had 3 sacks, that's pretty big for him. And I believe the Chargers have a bright future coming up. I don't know how they will do next week. I'm not sure who they play, but they play the Patriots, which uh, Patriots are looking like a good team.
Good. Patriots are resurging right now. Belichick's putting on them back.
Yeah.
This was probably one of the most surprising games of the week, I thought,
The Titans versus the Colts. That was a big game for King Henry.
for sure. The fact that he ran for 178 and 3 touchdowns against arguably the best rush defense in the league right now.
But the Colts didn't have their top 3 defensive linemen,
Now that is true.
which says a lot about how significant they are to their entire operation. I believe DeForest Buckner was out. I don't know the other two, but I know they didn't play. I don't think Grover Stewart played the entire game either.
Right, I don't see him on the set. Yeah.
But
Yeah, just the way that Titans were able to move the ball this game, they're legit. They're a legit team.
initially, when they played the Colts last time, I thought the Colts or the Titans weren't like a real team, like not a real team, but like a contender. But now, like I think Derrick Henry had like 150 yards in the first half. Like he was going off,
First half.
and then they obviously slowed him down. They started giving carries to Jeremy McNichols and Dante Foreman. But they got a solid receiving crew down in Tennessee. AJ Brown, Corey Davis.
Yeah, that duo comes to play every week. That's for sure. AJ Brown, even though he drops a couple passes,
Yeah,
still a solid receiver. Good muscle with him. But tune into the wide receivers episode to discuss more about AJ Brown.
yep. But I think the Colts might. I mean, I still think they're a real team, really good defense, probably top 2, top 3, probably behind the Steelers.
Ravens. The Ravens are a good defense as well.
They haven't been playing that well. I mean, I have them in fantasy. They're not producing. That's the Giants defense. I had to pull up the Giants defense though. But let's move on to the next game, the Panthers versus the Vikings. That came down to the wire.
Missed field goal by Carolina. Joey Slyer, who was one of the most consistent kickers in the league this year, I would say.
How long was the kick that he missed?
I'm not sure, but it wasn't a chip shot. I know that.
Oh yeah, the one that went like straight up to the left side.
Yeah.
That was what was it? Terry Bridgewater threw that deep pass to, what was it, Curtis Samuel?
I believe so.
That was a catch. That was a great catch by Curtis Samuel. But this was one of the weeks that Robbie Anderson actually had a decent game.
Just as I trade him away. Happens to the best of us, man.
But I personally was surprised by the fact that the Panthers are 4-8. I really thought they were a solid like 6-4 type of team this season, but 6-6 at least.
I feel like the whole dynamic it has shifted since CMC got injured.
Yeah,
injured again. I feel like when he comes back, they'll get back to winning. Obviously, they don't have a chance to make the playoffs at this point, just because their division is strong and they got a lot of competitors in there. But for the future, Panthers are a team to be sure.
Matt Rule's doing a great job with them, to be honest, with the coaching.
Yeah.
But somebody or something that did come out of this game was Dalvin Cook's injury, his ankle injury. I don't know how significant it is, but he did seem very reluctant to put pressure on it and make some jump cuts.
They slowed him down too.
Which didn't matter.
Due to the injury, but
yeah, it didn't matter at the end of the day. They won the game. I don't think the Vikings are a legitimate team, personally.
No, I don't think so either.
They have a bright future.
You do Justin Jefferson. Thielen's out.
That one kid put up a great game. The one who caught the game-winning touchdown. I don't remember his name, but he did a great job. But I guess moving on to the Browns versus the Jaguars. This game came way too close for me to consider the Browns a real team, like a legitimate contender.
No, I 27-25. I don't see the Browns as like a legitimate contender anymore. 8-3, I guess their record plus five plus 5 games over 500 for the first time in who knows how long. But man, it was very close. And to the Jaguars, especially without their quarterback, I don't know.
The Jaguars put a hell of a fight. James Robinson, he's been putting up numbers, especially as an undrafted free agent for them, and I think he might be a bright player for them in the future, especially with DJ Chark and Laviska Chenault.
For sure. I believe that I read an article that said that James Robinson is going to be the highest producing rookie that went undrafted in the history of the NFL.
Philip Lindsay did put up a lot of numbers when he was he was undrafted right to the Denver Broncos, I believe, and I mean he really had no shot compared to Saquon Barkley to win right Rookie of the Year, but he did a great job down there in Denver, especially since he was splitting, not even splitting, but he was getting significantly less carries than Saquon Barkley, especially because of Royce Freeman being involved in the whole running back situation down there in Denver.
Speaking of running backs, this Cleveland Brown duo is crazy.
This is definitely a nice duo. I mean, they had a nice duo at receiver too, Jarvis and Odell, but Odell's
You know
not.
how
I
that
mean,
went. We know how that went.
tune into the receivers to talk more about Odell and Landry and all these guys, but I would blame Baker Mayfield. Did you saw that pass where um Rashard Higgins, I believe, was wide open in the end zone. Baker
He
sailed
had
it over his
two.
head.
He had two. Rashard Higgins in the end zone and an underneath the drag route. He had two that was walking touchdowns. Sailed it over the top. I don't know.
But I
But it
think
made the game a lot different.
I think they would have blown the Jaguars out at that point. But
I would hope so. I'm
Nick
supporting
Chubb and
Cleveland
Kareem
fans.
Hunt, I think. I mean, we'll consider this more and talk about it more in the running back episode. But I believe Nick Chubb's better than Kareem Hunt. Just saying. Count on fantasy football, so it's kind of kind of gotta say that
A little bias. A little bias.
a little biased. But moving on to the Giants versus the Bengals, where I think we're both gonna have some sort of bias. We'll try to keep it, limited. Um,
I'm gonna say right now, Giants will win the NFC East. Just by the way they're playing.
the
But
Giants' defense is a top 10 defense in the league, and no one
top,
can tell me different.
I say top five, bro, or top seven, maybe.
That's biased. That's 100% biased.
Top seven, top seven,
Top seven for sure. Actually,
top seven.
the Bengals were held under 170 or 155 total yards. Um, they
Honestly,
did have a backup quarterback.
the one thing that came out of this game was the lack of Joe Burrow in the Bengals offense and how much it affects them.
That's true.
Now Joe Burrow only putting a 170 yards of offense, and your receivers in T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, even Giovanni Bernard, AJ Green, Auden Tate, who are big factors when Joe Burrow was QB, are basically held to minimal yards.
See, my thing is,
Secondary.
I don't think the game should have been as close as it was. That PI that they called on was it Darnay Holmes in the back of the end zone?
Yeah.
That was not a pass interference. There was nothing to. I mean, Joe Judge didn't challenge it, which makes sense because challenges haven't been winning, especially for penalties. But I think it was pretty clear that that wasn't a pass interference, and that would have made the game a lot more bearable to watch as a Giants fan and
Stressful.
less stressful.
Oh, for sure.
But Wayne Gallman
Legit.
him and Saquon Barkley might be a top duo, a top maybe top 5 duo in the league. But Saquon Barkley back, Wayne Gallman back next year, that's going to be something to watch, especially with the RPO with Daniel Jones,
Oh,
which we can
100%.
discuss later.
The one thing about the Giants, Evan Ingram, man, he makes me so bipolar. I swear to God. One week, he sells the bag. Drop catch against the
Yeah,
Eagles, other drop catches. Even this week, fumble on a drive that we were looking beautiful on.
100% touchdown drive.
But then a fumble costs us the drive. But he still puts up 125 yards and looks at like probably our number 2 receiver out there.
Oh
Which
yeah, 100%. I guess the only major takeaway there is the Giants are probably going to win the NFC East as long as Daniel Jones can come back healthy. They have a difficult schedule coming up, so maybe 7 wins maximum. But I think the Giants are more than capable of upsetting one of these teams like the Ravens,
even the Seahawks, I think.
Seahawks. Seahawks might be a difficult game next week, especially without Daniel Jones. But if there's one thing, that defense, that's gonna make the plays that are gonna win the game for the Giants.
That's for sure.
Going into the next game, the Cardinals versus Patriots. I mean, I don't think there was much with this game. Uh,
Yeah, not a lot of fireworks that we're used to seeing with the Cardinals. I don't know. Could it be because of Kyler Murray's injury last week against Seattle?
See, I personally think it's because Bill Belichick out schemed Cliff Kingsbury.
Which is also a possibility. A very highly likely possibility, actually.
Because Bill Belichick is known to shut down insane offensive. Like going back to Super Bowl, what was it, the Rams versus Patriots? That was
Yeah.
a high scoring offense that scored 3 points.
3 points. That's insane.
But
Rams.
personally, I don't see much from this game. I don't know.
Yeah, not much. The only thing I can take away from this game is that the Patriots, despite the rough start, I think they're starting to find their feet. Although I don't know about the playoffs this year, which is kind of sad for Bill Belichick, but the Patriots are starting to look and find their identity.
I think they're in a difficult situation because they have a lack of weapons and how Bill Belichick said they sold out or whatever he said earlier about because they can't sign free agents like that because they don't have the money for it. Like they had to give Cam Newton a $1 million contract, which is unheard of for a quarterback with that
Yeah,
stature.
for sure.
But going to the Jets and Dolphins game, I don't even think it's worth talking about. It was one of the most boring games of all time.
Uh, I don't know. The Dolphins defense, I don't know if it's just because they're playing the Jets, but the Dolphins defense, maybe I'm a little biased because I have them on fantasy, but that defense is looking really solid.
If you guys want us to give you guys some sort of fantasy advice, my records are 11-1, 8-4. Unfortunately, I have a 9 and yeah, whatever. That's not the point. But if you guys want us to talk about fantasy football and what we feel about the situations for these guys for the next week coming up, or any future weeks, playoffs, whatever the situation is, comment below. We'll for sure attack that and definitely post a video talking about who we believe are the best starts this week and why we believe that and who you should sit and etc. Um, Going into the Falcons and Raiders, what do you feel about this game, or how'd you feel?
It changed my view. Last week when the Raiders played the Chiefs, I thought they were legit. I know that the Chiefs are a high powered offense, but for the Raiders to I guess compete with them to the level that they did showed a lot about them. But then this week against the struggling Falcons, I don't know, only putting up 6 points. Derek Carr wasn't looking too good. I have no clue what to feel about this team.
I personally feel like the team has a great future, right? Like they were dealing with a lot of injuries, COVID situation happened to them. Maybe they were just expecting an easy win, and the Falcons out schemed them. Um,
Which
it
is
wasn't even a crazy game for them either.
how do you feel about the Falcons?
I don't know. I guess they're a much better team without who's their head coach. That
Yeah.
the one who got fired, right? He held them back significantly. Sorry, but they should be a plus 500 team. They pretty much sold which one? The Detroit game. They sold 2 games before that. I think this team should be 7-4, not 4-7.
For sure. But Todd Gurley, his situation is kind of tricky. Reports are that his arthritis flared up again, which is not a good sign. You paid uh, a decent amount of money to Todd Gurley, and now he has arthritis again, and now you're going to have to rely on the likes of Brian Hill, Edo Smith to carry your running back workload.
I don't think Todd Gurley was ever like that good after his arthritis situation started to, I guess, become brought up after that one historic season with the Rams. But I guess we'll see how that pans out. The interesting situation was with the Broncos and Saints, where the Broncos came in with 0 quarterbacks, and what was it, Kendall Hamilton?
Kendall Hamilton.
I guess there's not much to say about that game besides I kudos to him for even going out there. I think he deserves all the respect in the world. I don't think anyone else would have like stepped up, to be honest. Like all these guys were joking around like, "Oh, put me in," right? Like I think it's a much harder league against a Saints defense that is very, very nice, very stout. Um, it's a lot more difficult than people imagine it to be.
New Look Saints offense is also very difficult to game plan against because you don't know what Taysom Hill's going to do. I mean, yes, he's a rushing quarterback, but then at the same time, I personally believe he has some ability to pass the ball, but that's very controversial. So
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of him because he hurts Alvin Kamara, and I kind of have him in fantasy football. But at the same time, I think it's Alvin Kamara's foot injury which is holding him back. I don't know. But the Niners versus Rams, that was a game. That was a good game. Um,
well,
the
for sure.
49ers becoming healthier, it's a dangerous sign for the rest of the division. Like, if they didn't deal with all these injuries, I think they still would be in a solid team this season.
100%. The amount of people that they have lost, I believe on the broadcast they said they lost at what was it around
23.
19,
I thought it was 23.
23 people this season. It's kind of ridiculous. And the way that they're playing right now is just goes to show that the resiliency that they have. For sure, next year that they're gonna be a very good team.
That division's a difficult division to be in. Every team in there's a contender, to be honest. That's gonna be the division to watch next season. Who do they have? The Rams, uh, Seahawks,
Seahawks
Cardinals, and
and
Niners.
Niners.
They're literally all playoff teams.
Everyone, every single one.
And then on the other hand, you got the Giants division, the NFC East. Man, they're all negative teams, below 500. But
It is what it is.
let's talk about that Tyreek Hill performance against the Tampa Bay defense, which people thought was going to be something special coming into the 2020 season.
Fireworks. Tyreek is a monster. That's all I can say. Just the way that he's been producing is this next level.
Tune into the receiver episode to see where we rank them and what exactly we believe in, like why he's as good as he is. I mean, 13 catches for 269 yards and 3 touchdowns against a defense that's supposed to be a top five, top three defense. Come on now.
Okay, can we agree that it was kind of disappointing that he didn't get more than
Yeah,
200,
they sat him out.
200 yards in the first quarter, and then they just went away from him? I guess he was getting triple teamed, but
Yeah, that's true.
that's not the point. Like, come on, get my man the record.
What is the record? Like 300.
320?
I know Julio got close to it when he had like 303.
Yeah.
But Mahomes
Same.
is the quarterback of the NFL. Tune into our quarterback episode to see where we rank these quarterbacks and what we believe they how good they are and why they're that good.
A lot of rankings coming out.
I think Mahomes is going to repeat this season as well. MVP and Super Bowl MVP or Super Bowl MVP as well. Yeah. Who do you think is winning the Super Bowl?
Chiefs, man. I don't see anyone having the ability to stop the Chiefs right now.
I mean, we could talk about the phony Steelers after the next 2 games, but people think they're legitimate contenders, which I don't know about all that.
I don't see it. I really don't see it.
I guess we could talk about the NFC's one of the NFC's big competitors in the Green Bay Packers, being led by Aaron Rodgers, who's playing some great football this season with 211 yards and 4 touchdowns this game against the Green Bay defense.
Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Khalil Mack.
They were without Akeem Hicks, though. Did he tackle? That is Hicks, right?
Hicks. They were without Hicks, that's true. But
that's why the Packers had 182 rushing yards, which is unheard of against the Chicago Bears defense when they have Akeem Hicks. Because they had like 100 yards led up to Derrick Henry.
Right. And to let up 182 to the Green Bay Packers. We have Aaron Jones, who's, don't get me wrong, a solid running back, but he's not Henry.
Tune into the running backs to see where we running backs. But I don't think there's much to say for this division. Green Bay Packers have it, no doubt.
I think it's interesting to see how the other teams will play out because I believe they have a shot. The Bears and the Vikings, I think, in the playoff picture, they're in the hunt. I don't believe they're going to make the playoffs. Personally, they are in the hunt.
I don't think the Bears are making it. They started off 5-1, and now you're 5-6. That says enough for me. Like, you're fake. Get out of here, bud. All these Bears fans gonna start coming at us now. Whatever. But a game that really did surprise me and hurt a lot of bettors. They had the over on the 6.5s, and that 2-point conversion, the Hail Mary touchdown, that brought it to the under 6-point victory margin for the Seattle Seahawks.
Just a broken game, honestly. Seahawks weren't able to get many conversions on 4th downs, especially in the first half. A goal line play where they ran a shovel pass to
what was it, David Moore? He had -6 receiving yards as a result of all the losses he had. But he scored a touchdown.
He did score a touchdown from the 1-yard line.
In the back of the end zone.
Metcalf caught it. Bomb.
Receiver episode. We could talk about DK Metcalf, but this game, DK could have easily had 200+ receiving yards if he didn't drop that touchdown in the back left of the end zone, which doesn't take him away. Like, he does have drops. Every receiver has drops. Even Calvin Johnson had drops. His catch rate was his drop rate was double the drop rate of DK Metcalf this season. No, I'm not comparing the 2 receivers, which I might have to do in the receiver episode, but I'm just saying he's a legitimate receiver.
I think with Chris Carson coming back, I expected to see a lot more of him. Maybe the injury is still lingering, but I expected to see a lot more of him because I truly believe that with Chris Carson in, they're a completely different team than they are without.
I think they're trying to ease him back in. But did you see that run where he carried the three of the, or not carried, but when he went to the right side, we got that touchdown. He pretty much pulled his best Marshawn Lynch impersonation out there, breaking tackles and all that.
Speaking of Marshawn Lynch, is he on the team?
Marshawn Lynch?
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw some video of him in Hawaii where he was handing out turkeys or chickens. Turkeys on Thanksgiving. I was like, man, this guy's just living the life. He's doing whatever he wants. But I don't think he's on any team right now.
I mean, it makes sense. He's past his
prime for sure.
Yeah.
And like the Seahawks don't have the best running or offensive line to like open up these holes for Marshawn Lynch. And I don't think his body wants to take all that like now.
Not anymore.
But speaking of this Pittsburgh Steelers, they're an awful team.
11-0.
11-0 for what?
I really don't understand how these guys are 11-0.
Okay. They played pretty much the practice squad defense of the Ravens, practice squad offense. And they lost or they won by 5 points.
I don't know what to say. For a 10-0 team coming into the game to play Robert Griffin and then Trace McSorley.
McSorley scored threw a touchdown pass to Marquise Brown, that long touchdown pass.
In garbage.
It's probably the best play of Marquise Brown this season. We could talk about the receiver.
For sure.
He's terrible. I'll give you that. Marquise Brown's the worst. Was he a first-round pick? He was, right? 15 or something?
Last year he had, yeah.
Terrible first-round pick. Ravens, they don't know how to draft. I mean, they do. I'm not going to say they don't. They made some amazing draft picks. But quarterback episode, we'll talk about how Lamar Jackson's not even a top 10 quarterback in my book. Controversial, but you got to keep it controversial. But the receivers were not doing that well against some pretty hurt secondary.
The Ravens defense kept them in the game as long as they could.
They had that pick six early on.
At a certain point when Marcus Peter goes out and I forget who else got injured in that secondary, but then they replaced him with an older DB who led up a touchdown to Juju Smith-Schuster, basically because he lacked the quickness that the younger guys would have had. But that's not the point. The Steelers
aren't. First down situation that happened, like that everyone's complaining about, that fourth down situation or third down situation. Or I think it was they gave a third and like not a first down, or they gave a first down on something.
They gave a first down.
I was asleep. I saw it on Instagram. I was like, oh wow. So the refs are really helping the Steelers. I guess maybe just they got paid, run the table or something, I don't know. But yeah, I mean that's about it.
Chance to do it. It's kind of crazy.
What?
The fact that the Steelers have a legitimate chance to do it is kind of crazy.
But 16-0.
16-0.
But they're not making. I mean, once they make the playoffs, they're out of it. They're not a real contender. Like, get out of here. We'll talk about more of that in like a playoff episode. A little what we think is gonna happen. But yeah, I don't think they're real contenders. I mean, obviously they're gonna make the playoffs, number 1 seed, get that first round bye. But from there, I don't see them getting to the Super Bowl.
Yep, that. I don't see them.
But yeah, I think that's it for this Week 12 episode of the SSanguine podcast, where we, I guess, addressed all the things that we saw from Week 12. And tune in for future episodes. We're going to talk about Week 13 and even all these quarterback episodes, all these things that we were plugging throughout the video. But
yeah. Stay out.